This is Ken Leone, National Sales Manager for Heroics. In this brief video, I'll review Longitude's core capabilities and show how Longitude's powerful IT infrastructure monitoring and alerting are easily leveraged via a lightweight and easy-to-use interface. As we see via the gray menu bar, Longitude capabilities fall into four categories. Monitoring, and this is where we tell Longitude to monitor our IT infrastructure and applications. Events, Longitude generates events when problems are identified, and this is where we can display the events and adjust event settings. Dashboards, show near real-time performance and availability metrics. And lastly, reports, which display historical performance and availability data. Let's start with monitoring a newly added SQL Server. We're already in monitoring, so what I'll do is I'll go to Enterprise. I want to monitor an application. It's a Windows-based SQL Server, so the first thing I want to do is monitor Windows. The server is called Alaska. I'll click on Monitor. There's nothing deployed on Alaska. Everything Longitude does, it does agentlessly. Notice now it shows up under Alaska as a Windows application. I also want to monitor SQL Server. Longitude does support monitoring in a WAN and cloud configuration, and for that you'll want to consult heroics.com for a bit more detail. Notice now under Alaska we see SQL Server and Windows being monitored, and oh, by the way, we're also pinging the box as well. The left pane shows us what's currently being monitored based on server or network device. We can also break it down based on applications. So for example, I can see here that Alaska was added as a Windows application, and we also added it in SQL Server. You can also group your servers. That's very helpful for reporting and alerting and things of that sort. Anytime you see columns in Longitude, they're filterable and sortable. So for example, if I wanted to see what metrics or categories of metrics, if you will, Longitude is collecting for VMware, I can select VMware. And you can see that Longitude is grabbing metrics related to the hosts, the VMs, the data stores, the resource pools, etc. If I want to remove a filter, I can just click on Remove All. Okay, so we have monitoring in place. We want to see what's going on. We'll go to Events. We're displaying events that Longitude has generated based on the built-in knowledge base. When we drill on an event, we can get additional detail. So I want to target a specific server, so I'm going to go after Croatia here. And what we see is that Longitude has identified problems related to CPU and disk. If I drill on the event for saturated CPU, notice I get more detail as to the nature of the problem and how persistent the problem is. Also notice, in addition to identifying the server that has the problem, Longitude identified the process that's consuming the resources on the server. Let's show how easy it is to change event settings. So let's go to Thresholds. As I indicated earlier, everything is filterable, so I only care about Windows-related thresholds right now. Notice I get visual cues if I override what's called a device threshold or tell Longitude to take an action. So for CPU saturated, I want to see what the device overrides are. Notice the default factory value of 90% is being overridden to 85% for Croatia only. We may also want to tell Longitude to proactively notify us or take corrective measures via actions. So let's go to Actions. I can create new actions. We can also see and adjust existing actions. Here we see the events that currently have actions configured for them. We can narrow down to specific servers or devices. We can control when to take the action, the type of action, for example, running a command, a webhook, or perhaps an email. Adjusting an action is as simple as clicking on a hyperlink. Dashboards deliver up-to-the-moment performance and availability metrics for the IT infrastructure. Here we see how many devices Longitude is currently pinging for availability, as well as the number of Windows servers, Unix servers, VMware hosts, and VMs. We can also see the percentage of devices that are down, as well as the list of devices that are down via the tooltip. And we can also drill for more detail. Let's take a look at reports. Longitude exposes reports based on the applications that your instance of Longitude is currently monitoring. For the moment, we'll stick to Windows, and you'll notice that for each application, there are multiple reports. So for Windows, we're reporting on CPU, memory, disk, and network-related metrics. We can also go back in time, and we can also drill to get more detail. We can also report based on groups. In conclusion, we see that Longitude is quite easy to use, the interface is lightweight and streamlined, yet there's no compromise in terms of the power and flexibility required to effectively manage IT environments, both large and small. To learn more about Longitude, I'd encourage you to visit the link below.